So you slowly inch away from the camera on the thumbnail.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm too close. I look like I'm really into this movie.
Oh, you didn't see this movie. I flew solo at this movie, sort of. Of the group, I was there to see this movie by myself, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the audience who was there was the same audience that I saw the Trump prophecy with.
You showed me a picture, and it's
They-
like all white-haired men.
Right.
Balding white-haired men. Yeah.
Like we all.
I want you guys to tell me what I want to do with my body.
It was a reunion. It was a nice reunion from the Trump prophecy screening last October. I mean, I sat in the same spot. It might have been this. No, it wasn't the same screen. Same size screen that I saw it in. But I, again, kind of like the other one, just like sat all the way in the back, mainly just so I could like take a picture. It was kind of weird when I took the picture of the audience though, because like a preview for a Fathom event was playing on the screen. So in the picture it looks like they're watching something from the Metropolitan Opera, which I guarantee you is not the case. Oh, Pure Flix is back, baby.
Rated R.
Yes, rated R this time. R-rated Pure Flix movie. And if you think that wasn't, forgive me for this, Unplanned. Oh, okay. So I saw this movie, and yes, this is the R-rated movie that is the Pure Flix anti-abortion movie, anti-Planned Parenthood film that they're causing a stir about it. The makers and producers and supporters of the movie are saying like, oh, this is unjust, this isn't fair, they gave us an R rating. I just sat through this movie. There's no way that any producer or anyone who had something to do with this movie didn't know that this movie would get an R rating. Absolutely, this is an R-rated film.
So, yeah, tell me what makes it R-rated. I know they're gonna...
Can I tell it to you in song? No, so... I'll get the basic gist of the movie out of the way first, but... No, this is another instance of the people who support this movie and the people who made it trying to play the persecution victim complex card that's saying the MPAA is picking on them for getting an R rating. There is, again, like I said, there's no way that they thought that this movie would get a PG-13. No way.
They were trying to... I didn't see it, so I'm gonna get that out of the way. You already said it, but still.
If it was...
You know, they were probably... just a guess, I'm sure they were trying to go for a shock value thing.
In a few scenes, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, totally. So the gist of this movie is that it's about this woman named Abby Johnson who worked several years at a Planned Parenthood to the point to where she was like the clinic director or something like that for a number of years until the day she went in to help with this ultrasound abortion. And because it disturbed her so much, then becomes a pro-life activist. If you do a lot of reading into it, there's holes. Like, I mean, there are. She comes from, the character in the movie, I don't know, but like just going by this movie and what I've kind of read about the backstory of it, like, this is a person who comes from a very pro-life background. Constantly throughout the movie, her parents are chastising her for working there. It's a character who's raised Southern Baptist, husband, very, very pro-life, is throughout the movie friends with some pro-lifers throughout it. And when you kind of look at, you can draw your own conclusions, obviously, but when you kind of look at a lot of things like that, mixed in with this particular clinic, and I think Planned Parenthood in general, coming out and saying, like, we don't even do what she was talking about to the extent of what she was talking about, let alone on this particular day she was mentioning. So you can do a lot of reading about it, draw your conclusions from there, honestly. Like, I've got my opinion on it.
Yeah.
But so what makes this, so you probably gathered in your head that this is an R rating because of the abortion that she witnesses. Partly. That is also like the opening scene of this movie.
Of course it is. How graphic is it?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you're here to ask so many of these questions. Okay, so she
Am I gonna get mad or
No, well, this is gonna be a roller coaster ride of a review. There will be laughs. There might be some tears. You might get really scared. I think I should have like a flashlight under me, like I'm telling like a spooky ghost story. That was this film. So okay, she goes in to and you've seen, like, you were there when I watched Voiceless.
It was.
Picture a movie like that, but shot like God's Not Dead. This movie's directed, not from the director, but is directed by the writers of God's Not Dead, and they also wrote this movie as well. So she goes in there to assist in this ultrasound abortion, in which the girl is on the table, like, in tears. Just like it's
The girl getting the
oh
abortion.
yeah, it's just like,
Because she didn't want it?
well,
Because
anytime it shows somebody getting an abortion in this movie, that's always what it looks like. It always looks like they're in tears, they're shaking. It's coming across like they're being forced to do this. She starts to move at one point, and the nurse like puts the hand on the shoulder and goes like, "No, this is what you want, remember?" And so when it's showing the tube go in and suck out the fetus, you see it on this ultrasound and this CGI effect. The CGI effect of like a fetus like squirming and then getting like sucked through these tubes, where it's like all this blood and everything going into these vials, and then the girl, not the nurse, whoever, Abby Johnson, is like crying and like runs to the bathroom and like gets sick. When it was just that, I was like, this could go either way between a PG-13 and an R. I could sort of see either way. If it were just that scene, it's not. So it does the thing where she witnesses this and then it cuts to black and says 8 years earlier.
your favorite thing ever.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's gonna be at the top of things that are wrong with this movie. So there are frequent abortions throughout this film where she herself gets a couple from this like loser she was dating like in college who like cheated on her and shit. And then she does a chemically induced abortion in which she's in the bathroom like writhing in pain, and it's just blood clots and everything are just like,
Yeah, no, I know people that have done that.
Yeah.
It's not a fun experience.
oh, in the movie, like when it got to that, I was like, okay, this is why it's an R, because she's like picking up these blood clots and like throwing them in the toilet and like laying there in the ground, and there's like blood all over the bathroom and everything. That's not even the end of it. Later, there's like a teenager who comes in to get one, and like this shot is filmed like a zombie film, where like it's people who are like kind of infected, but they're pregnant and they're sitting in wheelchairs in gowns and they're like shaking in pain. One girl just starts bleeding all over the floor and they race her in there, just like blood trailing behind and everything.
So is it kind of doing a thing where it's like showing the realistic abortion experience? Because it seems like what I'm thinking of is like they might have been doing like, no, you gotta do this, like this is what you want to do, like everyone's happy to get the abortion. It's like, no, it's not a great experience for women. Not a lot of women are going in there like, yeah, I want to
I'm just saying what's got this movie an R, and it's stuff like that. No one really in this movie is going in necessarily happy to get an abortion. They're always shaking and crying, and it always looks...
Yeah, it's not a great experience.
Yeah, well,
women are going in there.
It also, a lot of times, has, like, them going in there with, like, their dad or something who is, like, forcing them into getting abortion. Like, it's... Sometimes it does that. But when you mix that, like, obviously no one's going in there like, oh boy, it's Wednesday, I'm gonna get myself an abortion, because in this movie they portray it more of a Saturday thing. I'm not joking. So my favorite character in this movie, and the one who was like the most pure evil in this film, is the one who's like the manager of the Planned Parenthood division, who is acted and portrayed like a Hallmark Channel ice queen, just like long brown hair and everything, like business suit and everything, and she's like super sociopathic throughout this movie, like evil, baby hungry, like mad woman who like they might as well portray like just eating a box of like fetuses for breakfast every morning. Like that is seriously how they portray her in this film. And at the beginning of it, when there's like protesters outside, she's like looking out the window going like, all of them just vultures. Call 911. Sick the hoses on them. I hate their kind. And then when Abby Johnson is pregnant in the film, when she finds out, she's like in the bathroom at the Planned Parenthood, gets her test and everything. Her coworkers are all like, yay, she gets her test, looks at that she's pregnant. The boss comes out of the stall and she's like, you know, we can take care of that for you. And she's like, you know what? The boss is like, you know what? Come to think of it, you being pregnant is going to coax a lot more girls into getting abortions. You need to keep this child. Bless you. It is. Bless you. It is my favorite. It is one of my favorite villains this year for how lazily it's fucking written. When she puts Abby in charge of the whole clinic, she brings, and you can kind of like see the thinking behind some of this. Like, bless you.
Excuse me.
So
I'm allergic to this scene.
So before she makes her like the new manager of this clinic, she brings her in there into a room where there is just a tiny like dead fetus on the table. And she's like, oh wow, that's not the boss but the main character. The main character's like, oh wow, that's crazy, you can like see inside of it and everything. The boss is going, you're the only one I brought in here who hasn't cried. That means you're perfect for this job. And I can, like, yeah, it's portraying it evil, but I also sort of understand that line of thinking.
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
I would say that about, like, any medical profession.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't... Like, my brother is in medical school.
Yeah.
And he's, like, totally, like, okay with, you know, looking at... what's it called?
Cadavers.
Cadavers, yeah. And he's totally fine with it and, like, looking at all that crap. And I'm like, I don't think I could belong in that line of work.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, you know, I get it.
She gets the job and gets Employee of the Year. And at this Employee of the Year ceremony is when Boss Lady stands up to give a speech about, like, the next year's profits, where she's like, this particular clinic has done 22,000 abortions this year. Next year, we need to double that. and then the girl's just like, that's, I don't know, should we maybe not, like, maybe we should try to reduce the amount of abortions? Do you remember that scene in God's Not Dead where, the first one, where Kevin Sorbo, like, yells at the kid in the hallway for, like, challenging him in the classroom? They do that same scene again, only it's her going in the hallway, like, don't you ever talk to me like that in a meeting again. And this is my favorite line in the movie, where evil boss lady is like, don't you ever stand up to me again. She says, oh my God, this is such a horribly bad line. She says to her, she goes, you know how fast food makes money? It's not on hamburgers. Hamburgers, they just break even. It's the little things that get them money. It's fries and drinks. Abortions are our fries and drinks. We need to double the amount of abortions. Abortions are what keeps you in work. Abortions paid for your house.
I'm so glad it came to
Oh, and when she, when it's the point in the movie where where the main character becomes an abortion protester, she ends up talking a girl, she's behind the fence, she ends up talking a girl out of getting an abortion. And girl gets out, she's crying, she's like, no, you don't have to do this and all that. Girl gets in her car and drives away, and then you just hear the boss, bravo, do you know how many millionaires fund us? We have George Soros on our side. There's a lawsuit in this film too, where the main character gets a guy off of a billboard to represent her, and the evil boss lady is just like, Oh, you're gonna get what you deserve. Oh, you hired the guy on the billboard. Oh, so typical. Oh my god. And there's so much shit in this movie. Like, she and her husband, the main character. I don't think I got anything else about the boss lady. I wish I did, because this is my favorite character in this whole film. But okay, back to the main character and like her husband, who's like her husband's like a staunch pro-lifer in this movie. And they're constantly like not yelling, arguing at each other, but they're constantly like talking about it. Like, he's really pro-life, and that's like, it seems to be the only reason why like her dad like approves of him, really, because the parents are pro-life. She's not, because she starts working at Planned Parenthood, but he like likes the main character more so than the previous husband, because the previous husband like cheated on her and everything. And then when they meet new husband, dad's like, wait, so you're pro-life too? And he's like, oh yeah. And he's like, I think I'm gonna like you, and maybe you can set her straight.
Oh my god.
So there's a part in the movie that revolves around Hurricane Ike or Harvey, I think, one of them, where they had to get in 38 abortions in a day because the city was going to be evacuated. And then when she comes home at night, she's got blood all over her shoes, and her daughter goes, Mommy, what happened to your shoes? And she's just like, oh, I had to treat like some nosebleeds at work earlier. Daughter goes off, pans up to the husband, who's standing there cross-armed, just like, I really hope you're proud of yourself. Sorry, I've made God cry, as you can probably hear.
Sorry I'm not adding too much to this.
No, you're fine.
I did see it, and honestly, with everything going on with this climate right now, I'm like, this kind of stuff makes me really angry.
No,
and also, I'm also getting over pneumonia, so it's like...
They try this...
So going and... I did really...
So it's making you more sick?
Well, it's also, I was like, I'm not... This isn't the cure for my pneumonia right now.
I got a few other things on here. Like, they try... Like, the staff at this place is, like... Most of their conversations in the movie, most of the staff at Planned Parenthood in this, most of what they talk about is just, like, they don't like pro-lifers and they don't like Christians. Like, sometimes they'll talk about other things, like how many abortions we can fit in today. But there's like scenes where they're like, yeah, I went to church and all they talked about was being anti-abortion. Like, oh, these stupid Christians. God. It tries doing it. It tries handling it both ways. Like, it wants to like distance itself from like radical anti-abortion protesters. But come on, guess who this movie's made for? Like,
yeah, you showed me that picture. It's made for old white men.
Oh yeah. Well, this movie's not like, yeah, it's two dudes who wrote this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm really surprised.
And directed it. It took not one but two of them. But this is the kind of movie that's not. It's not made by or for men. It's made for and by little boys. Little boys are who goes to see a movie like this. Little boys, petty children make a movie like this. Like, entitled little shitbag boys who don't like the fact that there's something they can't control about a woman.
You know, there's this Inside Amy Schumer skit. I don't know if you saw it.
Probably not.
She's like getting like examined and stuff, and then it's all like these old white men. They're like, she's like, well, where's the doctor? And they're like, no, we're gonna take care of what needs to be done with your reproductive system and stuff. And she's like, well, this is kind of invasive and weird, and this is, I don't know why you guys are in charge of all this.
Someone in the chat just goes, yeah, but little boys can't pay for a ticket. Oh, there was plenty of them there. There were people who looked 60 but had the mind of a child, clearly, and there were also children in there.
Were there?
Of course there were.
Yeah, get them while they're young.
You can pay to go see a movie. Like, it's R. Like, if you're with an adult, you can be at a movie like this. It's not NC-17. So when it's showing the protesters at the beginning of it, like, most of the at the very beginning of it, do you see like that kind of abortion protester who has like the graphic pictures of fetuses and are saying, they literally say in the movie, like, why couldn't you have kept your legs shut? Like,
oh my, that is what makes, okay.
This movie,
that's what made me the most mad during this review.
this movie,
why can't you keep it in your pants? Can I just make that same argument?
Yeah,
like,
the movie tries distancing itself from that, where it's showing, sorry about the rain, where it's showing, the main protesters that we see in this movie, where they're all like, oh, we don't agree with that guy. That's not us. Like, we're the good ones. He's, like, the bad one. So you only see a protester like that at the beginning of the film. The rest of them are just the most clean-cut, innocent, big smile, wide-eyed, polo shirt wearing, like, anti-abortion protesters in this film. Like, oh, hey, we just want to hang out and chill. Why you gotta be going in there? You know,
like a Matthew McConaughey type.
Kinda, yeah.
All right.
They were sort of acting like a parody of a Mormon movie. Like, just like blind, like big eye smile and everything like that. Like if someone wanted to like spoof some of the movies that like you kind of saw like a lot when you were younger, and that that I've watched a couple of on the site. Like that's sort of like they're acting like a South Park parody. Like just overly like really like nice, like oh, I just wanted to congratulate you on your baby and things like that. Like, so it's trying hard to distance itself from the type of person who this movie is made for.
So it can like appeal to like a larger
no, so it can wash its hands clean if someone goes to see this and does something shitty because of it.
Right.
That's why something like that is in the movie. Because I gotta be honest, a movie like this is why 9 times out of 10, I don't really give a flying fuck about a lot of like outrages that happen, because I save it for shit like this.
Something that's actually important.
Yeah, this movie is irresponsible. Like when it gets to the point in the movie where you know, it's bringing up financial donors of Planned Parenthood, and there's a section in the movie that's about Dr. Tiller, the abortion doctor who was shot in the head at his church, and it tries saying like, for like 2 seconds, it tries saying like, oh, this is really, really bad, but then afterwards has barrels of like dead fetuses that like the group is like praying over, like barrels of them standing in front of the gate. And they even, when the boss is threatening her, she says like, you don't want to threaten us, you have no idea what you were capable of. I'm like, excuse me, this movie just had a section about dude who was shot in the head, and that wasn't by your people. Like this is such an irresponsible movie that I'm like, when it's doing shit like showing all this graphic shit in the movie and all these evil things that the boss is doing, I'm just sitting there going, wow, this movie is this close to just handing out loaded weapons and maps to the audience.
Yeah, like,
oh, it doesn't.
I really don't even want to think about this kind of stuff. It makes me so sad.
I'm almost done. It
makes me so, it's like, man, people hate me because I'm a woman sometimes. It's like, man, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I'm not sorry actually, but it's like it sucks. It really sucks. Like for someone like me, you know. I mean, okay, I'm privileged in some areas, but it's like someone was like, they're like, well, just keep your legs shut, and it's like,
yeah,
you know what?
This movie
it's
does
hard
not
to even think about it sometimes.
It shows her working as like an escort to get people into the building because of the protesters. Yeah, but
I used to do that, and women are going in there like scared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, women are going in there scared because of judgment. Like people will be praying and stuff outside, being like, "You're doing this and you're killing someone," and it's like, well, you don't know what their situation is.
Yeah, this movie's really light on that. Like it doesn't Yeah, it gets into that a little bit in the lightest of terms. Like, it really doesn't show much in the way of a lot of serious threats that have gone on at those places, to the point to where they need security details. They need, like, safe rooms in there. They're yeah, like, there's a part where a girl's on the phone and is saying, uh, she's like, there's people out there that are praying. I don't want to go in there. And the way this movie is painting it is like, oh, she just doesn't want to be embarrassed or something. She doesn't want to be seen as she goes in there. I'm watching it going, no, I've seen the news. I've seen some things that happen there. That's a legit concern.
Yeah.
That is a concern for
There's
their fucking
terrorist
safety.
attacks.
Yeah, there are domestic terrorist attacks on places like this.
Yeah, and yeah, I used to do escorting, like a lot of women that would go in there, and they are fucking terrified. They're also really, they it's not like everyone's going in like, I'm gonna get an abortion. Everyone's going
Sure.
in there like, I can't either support this child or this fetus in me, and I also can't, that, or they were raped or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's always a reason why someone's getting an abortion. It's not like, oh, I'm just irresponsible.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. There's one more thing about the movie. What would you say if I told you this movie ends kind of like Schindler's List?
What, like, I could have done more.
A little bit.
This watch.
I could have done so much more for Jerry's parents.
Yeah.
No. So every argument that is in this movie, I mean, you can tell it's from the writers of God's Not Dead, because every argument in it is a straw man argument.
Mm-hmm.
It is just her setting up her when she's with Planned Parenthood. It's her setting herself up to fail in these arguments where, like, even watching it, when she'd come out and say something, I'm like, all right, I know exactly how this pro-life person's going to react to this. And that's really kind of how it plays out. So you have scenes in the movie where, like, the main pro-life guy in the movie is, like, comparing Planned Parenthood and abortion to the Holocaust and to slavery. And
I know people that do
right.
that. Yeah.
At the end of the movie, the clinic shuts down, and she's speaking in front of a crowd of people who have gotten abortions, and they each have a flower for, like, their own aborted fetus.
So the stone thing.
Kind of like that, where they're putting it on the gate of on the gate of the fence. Meanwhile, it cuts to this guy who is in, like, this bulldozer or whatever, the machine he's using to pull down the Planned Parenthood sign, and he's this burly, gross fuck mustache fat guy, and he's like, I've been waiting for this my whole life.
Wait, so he was a gross fat man?
Yeah, who was pulling down the Planned Parenthood sign because he was a construction worker. This is at the end of the movie where they're putting their flowers.
No, I'm
on
just
the...
surprised he's a gross fat man that's against abortion.
You are?
No. Of course he is. God.
And look, I grew up kindergarten through my senior year of high school. I grew up going to religious schools, and usually I was about in high school and everything. Typically I was about one of the few there who was pro-choice. I got along with everyone there just fine. I know that not every single person who is against abortion is the guy out there saying, why don't you keep your legs shut, and is doing things like that.
No, it's not like... I know a lot of women that are...
I do too. I grew up with a bunch of them.
Pro-life, and...
Yeah.
Most of the time, I know some women that are just like that because, it's a touchy subject. And
it is, yeah.
I can understand... Okay. I can understand, like, why some people are, like, think it's okay to not abort.
Sure.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a weird subject. It's really weird. But at the end of the day, it's not that black and white. Like, there's a lot of stuff that can happen
Also,
to women, like,
yeah.
you know, and they shouldn't. I don't want to get into
No,
it.
and at the end of the day, it doesn't make this movie any less irresponsible.
No, totally. Like,
it,
no, movies like this is what causes a lot of outrage in a lot of people, and they think like it's okay, like to bomb an
it's there
abortion
to
clinic.
rile up a certain crowd.
Yeah, and it's a very toxic crowd, and.
Do you want to go see it? There's probably another showing
No.
tonight. Are you? There probably will be a snob episode on this at some point. If anything, just for the boss.
Okay, when I was saying I get.
Bravo. Yeah.
When I was saying I get, like, people are like don't understand or like are pro-life, like I'm obviously pro-choice,
Yeah.
but I understand why people can see it in a different way. But I'm not. But movies like this,
This is different.
or something where like it's just, I just don't understand why some people are just like, oh, we're gonna,
Because this is like a pure flicks movie in the vein of something like God's Not Dead. Whereas like a movie like God's Not Dead, yeah, I grew up with a lot of religious people and know that there are wonderful religious people out there. Of course there are. I got plenty of them in my family. I grew up with many of them. That doesn't make God's Not Dead less bad and sinister.
It's toxic.
Yeah.
No, but let's get outraged about something really stupid. It's like, no, there's actual real shit going on.
Yeah.
Let's not make this about ourselves and, like something.
I don't know though. I read this 40-year-old interview of an actor and it was really bad.
Like, let's channel all of our energy into something like this, and not something that is just so stupid.
I know, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like,
but
look,
I'm always
there's so much real shit going on right now.
I'm always gonna be seeing a movie like this. So it's I enjoy talking about them.
I don't. As a woman, it can be a little more depressing sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
Where it's like,
and you just had to have me describe the movie.
No, Laura, just close your legs and make sure you wear a loose shirt. Don't wear stuff with cleavage showing. You were asking for it.
Oh God.
That's happened to me several times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how.
Not the abortion thing, but.
Not the part where my evil boss came up to me in the bathroom and said, I can take care of that for you. It's stupid. All right, so.
Okay, sorry, I get a little riled up in this subject, but.
No, it's fine.
What?
Oh, that's totally fine. If I was sitting in here describing this movie to Sarah, she'd light the car on fire. Any final words about the movie I saw?
I didn't see it, so.
You didn't see this movie, and you're already like, this is the worst movie we've seen this year.
No, there's no final thoughts. I think we'll get it.
Yeah, man. It's the acting's not good. It's not a well-made movie. It looks like something like God's Not Dead. On a technical level, it looks like that. A lot of the acting is bad. The characters are two-dimensional. The main actress said something like, this is an important message. I don't care if it gets me blacklisted from Hollywood. So I'm like, okay, I just sat through this movie. You aren't going to be A-list anyway.
Yeah.
I've seen her I think she was in War Room. And that 90 Minutes in Heaven or whatever it was called, but no, she kind of narrates it, and always sort of narrates it like there's a question mark at the end, like
a Valley Girl type.
Kinda, but she's from Texas, so there's a Texas accent in there.
Kinda got an abortion.
There are scenes like that in the movie where she's laying on the ground covered in blood. And she's like, "Oh, my mom doesn't walk in."
Oh my God, that kind of hurt. Jesus, that was dark.
God, damn, honey. Well, think that's about all I got for Unplanned. I hope you
Good.
enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that little descent into madness that I went to go see.
No one really wanted to see this with you, and no one really wanted to talk about it with you, so you got stuck with me. So I'm sorry.
I'll go see all these movies. I don't care.
Yeah, but
I mean, I care, but I mean, I'll still go.
no, what
I'll
I'm
still go
saying,
see
like,
the movie.
you never have to be in that situation.
No,
where you have to
no,
get
no,
an
no,
abortion
no.
either.
I'll tell you one more thing about this movie after it's over, after the review's over. But
Spoiler: she gets the abortion.
no, quite the opposite. On the ending, all right, on the ending thing, it says like she went on to have 8 kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Turns out it was Octomom this entire time.
Oh my God! It turns out this is a weird prequel to Cheaper by the Dozen. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks a bunch for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. This will definitely be a snob episode in the future. So yeah, look forward to that, definitely. I don't know what comes out next week. Whatever. It's not gonna top this movie.